Machines talking to people? I'm Joseph. This is Input English. Machines have been communicating with people for nearly 200 years. Really, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, about 200 years ago, resulted in a great deal of interaction between humans and devices, machines. Humans need to give instructions to machines, which we commonly do with levers, knobs, switches, buttons, various settings. But the machines need to communicate back to us for many different reasons. In the 21st century, we have a lot of machines communicating with us with AI-generated voices. That is, the machines impersonate or emulate human speech, and we receive that. Sometimes we need to figure out whether we're listening to a person or we're listening to a machine, that is, an AI-generated robotic voice. There are many types of interactions where machines give us information. We receive a lot of alerts from machines. This is nothing new. This didn't come to us with AI. This came to us with the Industrial Revolution. Bells and sirens have been used to alert people that they need to do something at a particular time. In school, it is common for the beginning of the class to be marked with a bell, and then there's a signal to change classes to go to the next class with another bell. Now, I went to school decades ago, and I'm not certain that elementary schools and secondary schools still use bells. We're all familiar with fire alarms. Fire alarms alert us to the possibility of a fire and signal us to evacuate. So we begin to see a pattern that we get a lot of messages through our listening. That makes sense because that message can be received whether we're looking at something or in a particular direction or not. We do get visual messages from machines. Blinking lights can alert us to some function of which we should be aware. Different colored lights can tell us of a status. Most of us, seeing a green light, see that things are okay and are proceeding, but a red light might suggest a stop. That's not universal, but it is a pattern you will see. At work, the fire alarm was an auditory signal, but it also had blinking, flashing lights. The lights were very bright. So if someone couldn't hear the alarm, they could probably see the flashing lights. The alarm was redundant. It had two methods of notification, not just one. That redundancy adds a level of safety to the system. So now we can conclude that we get a lot of messages by hearing, we get a lot of messages by seeing, but we probably don't get any messages by smelling, do we? We actually do. There is an olfactory signal that we could all receive. This is not even a new method. You might not have thought of it. Societies have a problem because one of the common fuels that is used is gas, natural gas or propane, less commonly butane. So natural gas, for instance, is an odorless gas. Now you might object. You might say, no, my experience is that you can smell natural gas. And that's not true. You can't. Natural gas is odorless. So why can you smell it? Because the gas company has, per regulation, added an odorant to the gas. You don't smell the gas. You smell that trace chemical that was added to the gas so that you can smell it. It's a safety feature of gas devices and gas companies. Otherwise, gas would be a lot more dangerous if it was invisible, odorless and colorless, we wouldn't be able to detect it. But with that addition of that odorant, you can smell it. So now we've got three senses getting stimulated where machines, devices, are communicating with us. Sight, sound, and smell. Is that it? The next sense that gets stimulated in this discussion is our sense of feel. It may seem like a new method of notifying human beings, but it's really not. This signal that we get by our sense of feel is called haptic signaling. If you have a smartphone and you put it on silent, it likely will go into a vibrate mode. In the US, it's common for people to say, I have my phone set on vibrate. What that means is the auditory signal, the ringer, is silent. That way it won't disturb whatever's going on around you. However, it will vibrate. And that vibration of the cell phone when the phone is trying to notify you is called a haptic signal. Long before the 21st century, haptic communication was being used. I can recall that as a pilot, when flying with another pilot, we would shake the stick or shake the yoke to signal the other pilot that we're doing something. I used that when flying with another pilot because we wanted to be certain that one of us was flying the airplane at all times, but we wanted to be able to trade off. One of us would fly for a while, and then the other would fly for a while, and we did it by saying, would you like to take the airplane? The other fellow would say, yes, put his hand on the yoke and say, I have the airplane, and then shake the yoke. I would feel the shaking of my yoke because they were mechanically connected, and I could feel that he had his hands on the controls. And then I would say, you have the airplane, and shake the yoke, and then I was hands off. That was haptic communication. It was also redundant. We were speaking, he was hearing me give an instruction, I was hearing his response, but then the redundancy was this haptic communication so that we could feel something happening with the control. On modern aircraft, there are frequently haptic signals that come through the controls, particularly at a time of danger. The device that does that is called a stick shaker. If the pilot has configured the airplane in a way that might be dangerous, the automatic system, the computer of the airplane, may actuate the stick shaker to signal the pilot that there's something wrong, something that he or she needs to pay attention to and correct. Stick shakers save lives. Now you might wonder, why am I telling you all this? Well, it's part of a story, and you know how I love to tell stories for comprehensible input. If you have watched previous videos on this channel, you might know that I bought a used Jeep for off-road use so that I can go explore remote areas where the roads are terrible. I don't want to get my Subaru stuck in a wash because it's the wrong vehicle, the wrong tool for that job. So I bought a used Jeep. But I'm making some upgrades, and one of the upgrades I decided to install on this Jeep is a trailer hitch. Now the fun part of that is that the manufacturer has bolt-on trailer hitches that are super easy and simple to install. It turns out they do require some specialized tools, some of which I had and some of which I didn't. So I'm in the midst of putting a trailer hitch on the Jeep Gladiator. In the instructions on how to do this, they give the specifications for how tight to tighten the bolts. These large bolts need to be tightened very tightly, but not over tightened. In order to accomplish that correct tightening, they give a specification of how much torque to apply. They specified that the large bolts need 165 Newton meters of torque. Perfect. So I went into the shop and pulled out my old torque wrench, and I wondered, since I hadn't used it for maybe decades, is it still going to work properly? Well, I soon found out that it would not. It worked badly. Actually, it didn't really work at all. So now I've got a new problem. Now my new little subroutine that I'm doing is servicing this torque wrench. So I found some tools and disassembled the head. The grease was all thickened and sticky. So I cleaned the inside of the head. I put it together. It still wasn't working very well. And since it was so important to the project, I got frustrated. And then the light bulb, that is the idea. I said, phooey, why are you fiddling with this old worn out tool? Recycle it and get a new one. Get a serviceable tool that'll do this job. Now the word phooey is an exclamation. And the nice thing about phooey is you can say it to anyone. It's not a dirty word. It isn't foul language. No one will be insulted or irritated that you said phooey. It means disapproval or distaste. Oh, phooey, I shouldn't be doing this. So I quickly looked at the options for a new torque wrench, selected one, and it arrived the next day. It's battery operated, digital, and it's pretty simple. You set the torque that you want to apply to the bolt, then you start turning that bolt, and as it gets tighter, the digital readout goes up toward the target torque setting. So you can watch the window and the digital readout will increase and you can see what's happening. Sometimes when you're using a torque wrench, you don't have access to see the window because of the position the wrench is in. You can't see that window. The manufacturer knew that, so it gives an auditory signal so that when you get within 5% of the target torque, it starts beeping. And then when you arrive at the target setting, the beep tone becomes continuous. Now you know you've torqued it down. And then you can look in the window and it will give you a readout of the final torque. If you don't like it, you can change it. You can loosen the bolt up and re-torque it. But in addition to the flashing light and the beeping tone, it has a haptic signal. When that torque wrench gets to the set point, it gets to the target number, the handle vibrates. Using that torque wrench is such a joy. It is so easy. You can follow in the window if you can see the window. You can listen for the beep tone, or you can look for the flashing light. And if none of those suit you because of the position you're in or the environment you're working in, the handle will vibrate when you get to the set point. I find this such a great pleasure that technology, as it becomes more sophisticated, frequently becomes more user-friendly. Sometimes that's not what happens. The second story here is a short one. I was sitting in my chair at home, editing a video. I had the windows open because the air was clean and cool, and I was airing out the house. While I was editing the video, I heard a bird chirping outside, out through the window. That's not unusual. We have birds in the yard all the time. I kept working and the bird kept chirping. Not very often, but it was always the same. 3 chirp tones. The chirp tones were very even, very consistent, and not very frequent. I started to entertain the possibility that it wasn't a bird, maybe it was a signal from a device, but it sounded like it was coming from outdoors. I shrugged it off. Was it a bird? Was it a device? I don't know. A couple of days later, I was outside recording a video in the backyard. I heard the beep tone again. Not very often, but it was exactly the same. Very consistent and not very frequent. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It was coming from outside. I thought maybe it was a signal coming from the generator. Because we live in the mountains, sometimes the electric company turns off the power and we would go for maybe hours to days of having no electricity. So because of this peculiarity of where we live, I put in a generator for the house. I hated to spend the money, but when the power's off for 3 days, it sure is nice to have emergency power. I wondered if maybe the generator needed service. Maybe it was sending a signal to me to go check it out. So I walked over to the generator, lifted the cover, and everything looked normal. No indication of a problem. On the way back to resume my session of recording, I heard the tone again, but it wasn't coming from where the generator is, it was coming from another direction. It took me about 3 days to find this because the chirp tones were so far apart that I just couldn't localize it. I could hear it, but I couldn't tell precisely where it was coming from. Eventually I realized that it was coming from the trailer. Now that was a puzzle because the trailer is all shut down. There are no electronic systems active on the trailer. It's unplugged and the main power switch is off. So how's it generating a chirp tone? The smoke detector. It was a notification of me that the battery in the smoke detector in the trailer was getting low and needed to be replaced. And the other reason that I couldn't tell where it was coming from is it was a muffled sound coming from inside the trailer. It wasn't coming from a single point. I tested the hypothesis. I went out to the trailer, opened it with a key, and stood in the middle of the trailer for a short time. Sure enough, the beep tone went off and it was the smoke detector. Now I'm grateful to have that notification so that I can change that battery. I'm grateful that it was not an irritating sound. It wasn't obnoxious, but it sure puzzled me what I was supposed to respond to. I had no idea which of the many devices in our household was trying to give me information with an auditory signal. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.